Welcome to Track Notes.
That's pretty good.
Nice. Good job, dude.
Cool.
Sick.
Track Notes is a little series where we're just going to break up down every song on the EP and talk about the production process and the lyrics and answer some of your questions that you guys sent in. The first song in the Track Notes series is the title track of the EP, which is
Getting By.
My little brother asked why he wasn't mentioned in any of the lyrics, and the answer is, you didn't break my heart. So, yeah. Throwback to October 2019 when we started.
2020, because it was during the pandemic.
During the pandemic, we started working on this project.
I think we demoed out like 16?
Yeah, 16 or so songs.
15 or 16 type deal. Yeah.
And then Zach, being the producer, is like, all right, we have to choose like 5 or 6 to do for the record. And I remember being on Zoom. I had like put all these like sticky notes on the wall and like trying to organize it in my brain. And then I had like maybe like 7 still picked out. And Zach was like, all right, you need to kill 3. And he gave me 30 seconds and I almost cried. And then I like decided, and that's how I like almost fully like burst out into tears.
I do remember that. I remember that was very difficult for you to kill your darlings on that one.
So eventually, these 4 songs were the ones, and Getting By ended up becoming the title track.
The song took so many different forms throughout the whole process. Like it started off, none of the songs really started off how they ended up.
Yeah, that was actually a question Midtown Radio asked, which song took an unexpected turn? And while they all did,
Getting By was the most unexpected.
The most unexpected. Like it was just like, it was a difficult one to bring together with the band. And
when Rachel and the band came to the studio, you guys said, hey, we had wanted to do a ramp up like halfway through the song.
Yeah, because I don't really remember. Felt like it needed like a little bit more.
We had to, on the fly, figure out how many BPM per bar to move up to make it from 135 to 150.
And it sounded pretty good like when we were there, but listening to it back, we're like, oh, this is kind of janky.
I don't think we realized that this song didn't need a full band until like probably we finished the other song.
We decided to scrap that version entirely, and then we just took it like just us to work on it, and that I feel very proud of this song for that reason, because we really put we just tried a lot of different things. We stripped it back to kind of how it was originally written. We were experimenting a lot with this song.
Yeah, it was just weird how this one came together, I think, because everything else kind of just happened.
Yeah.
And then this one really was like what do we do?
Yeah, how does it come together?
Like, how do we make this song work? So this is the intro guitar, which is your electric guitar.
Yes.
Through the Kemper with all those wacky effects on it.
That part kind of evolved when I bought a looper pedal.
Oh yeah, I forgot you got the looper halfway through doing the record.
I was like, let's get a looper just to play around with it. I was like at home and my brother was like playing video games, and I was like looping this for like several hours.
It's supposed to sound like a synthesizer, but we have that going on, and that intros the song, and then we have this acoustic guitar that comes in that I will isolate for you.
This is the hook of the song, the first part that kind of came to me when I was writing it.
So that's kind of like what the guitar does, and the way, I mean, if you want to explain how the song kind of evolves and because it kind of changes halfway through.
The idea, the whole concept of Getting By was that it changes vibes throughout. So it starts kind of like ominous, and then it turns optimistic, and then it goes back to ominous, and then turns optimistic again, and then it ends kind of like, and that's kind of like the theme of the whole song and kind of the record as well. I feel like unsure, but also optimistic, but how long will this optimism last? And it's also written about a relationship and like having relationship anxiety and all this kind of stuff. So yeah, I wanted it to feel like both of those things were going on.
This was a really fun one to work on, like the whole EP, for that reason, because it changes so much.
Yes, there's a little bit of everything.
But yeah, this song kind of is kind of its own thing within the rest of the album.
Yeah.
sonically. And I think that's what made it such a good opener. It set like a couple different moods that would come back for the rest of it. Let's go to background vocals. So Jenna Aquino,
a good friend of mine and my roommate at the time, is featured for background vocals. And so for this one, we wanted a lot of like, it's like very like folky, kind of like inspired, oohs, ahs, stomps, claps, whatever. So Jenna provided some really great background vocals for this one.
so these have a fair bit of like delay and reverb going on. Shouts out to Apogee and Clear Mountains Domain. And they sound like this. Kind of haunting,
Yeah,
I guess would be the word. All of the background vocals kind of had that kind of vibe.
Yeah.
We're far away.
Some crunchy. Another thing with this song, I couldn't figure out how to like, because I really wanted to split the difference between like the first chorus and the second chorus to be like, this one is more optimistic. A few days before Jenna and I were gonna start rehearsing for like going into the studio, and I came up with this second line.
And Jenna is the very beautiful voice that kind of just sits on top in the background and really fit the song really well and just made it a very like made it feel more open.
I'll be over just one. I'll be coming over. Run into your arms.
This one for me was personally very fun to work on because Rachel kind of just said like, do your thing.
Yeah.
Like I think the other songs we were a little like we had more of a concrete vision for, whereas this one was very much just like, let's just try stuff out and see what happens. Creepy sounds.
Right. So the intro, which might be a curiosity to some people. So we were like a few months into the production process. I was home for Christmas. Zach said, why don't you try playing Getting By on the piano instead of the guitar? And the only piano that I had was my crappy upright that was stuck in perpetual sustain pedal.
Oblivion.
Yeah.
And sent
Set
it
up a
to
voice note, sent it to Zach. My mom's doing dishes in the background. And this is what it sounds like.
There's also a whole lot of whatever this stuff was.
So because my piano was stuck in perpetual sustain, I thought I could try to fix it. So I tried to pull the bottom out of my piano to check it out. And when I pulled the wood to try to look inside, it made this horrendous like sound, and it echoed. And I was like, that's really cool. So, and I also made a voice note of just weird sounds that I was making.
Yeah, and then I took creepy sounds and I was like, I'm gonna make this sound creepier. So I took the creepy sounds and duplicated it a couple of times. One of them ends up having a pretty funky delay on it. One of them's got and then the other two have automated filters that are going through, and the third one has spring reverb happening on it, which sounds kind of funky. And then all of those together, plus the piano, gets you this. And then the song starts.
There you go.
And then I think the last thing we really have to talk about is the, I almost said clomps and stamps. Clomps and stamps. Would you like to see my clomp and stamp collection? Stomps and claps. The stomps we recorded at the studio in London. And we have the basement there has kind of like a cool like latching door, like plywood that opens up to go down the stairs. So we set up a microphone sitting on the stairs underneath that piece of wood, and Rachel stomped on top of it. And that gave it a really cool kind of like thuddy reverby sound. The claps we did just in front of the mic, nothing special about those. They're claps. And then Matt did the shakers and maracas. Yeah, and that's it. But the stomps have the stomps and claps have some reverb. And then the stomps themselves are going through like they're pretty heavily compressed. And there's just like a lot of tape saturation happening, trying to make them sound like kind of distorted and gross. I feel like the stomps kind of keep a little bit of that vibe from the beginning where things are a little bit like crunchy.
Yeah, they're a little it's a little janky. Like it's supposed to be a little uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
I want the listener to feel like slightly off, but they don't know why.
Yeah, and I think that like this song does that very well.
Yeah, which is kind of how I felt. The concept of the song lyrically was inspired by this song called "I'll Get By" Nick Lucas. That song was written a year before the Great Depression in like the 1920s.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, a friend of mine sent me a podcast, songs to uplift you during the pandemic.
Okay, cool.
As the pandemic started, and yeah, there was like Missy Elliott, Lick Shots, Alberta Hunter, My Castle's Rockin', and then I'll Get By Nick Lucas. The podcast talked about how ominous it was that this song was written right before the Great Depression hit, and it was saying things like, I'll get by as long as I have you. Poverty may come my way, but it doesn't matter as long as like I have you and your love kind of thing. So that was kind of the inspiration behind the song. There's a lot of like longing and like, oh, I'm stuck, aimless, floating. Like, we don't need to go into that. Everybody knows how that feels at this point. And then actually lyrically, the song did change a little bit after. So it starts and it says,
So be my escape when the night is falling down.
Yeah, so it changed to Be My Mistake when the sun is going down.
Yeah.
Which was a call to the last song on the EP, The Setting Sun.
A little bit of foreshadowing.
A little bit of foreshadowing. I don't know if anyone noticed that, but it was an intentional lyrical choice to tie in the songs and the story of love and heartbreak. So that is Getting By.
Yeah. Wow.
There we go.
Catch you on the flippity.
All recorded.
Yeah.
Let's see how she's doing. Good. She's still going.